I would like to go into the program then right now. And thanks for the Dex, some of the Dex gang to come out here, to be here today, because you know Captain Tom Chaby is one of his, well, we've hired him within our organization, especially up at Dex Corporate in Tampa, to give us some good ideas and some motivational inspiration, for instance, for some of the examples that that he's lived through, and he's going to give us a really great talk today. Tom is a 26-year retired U.S. Navy SEAL. He's conducted special operations in over 60 countries throughout the world. He's led forces in combat in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and multiple other locations. Tom spent multiple years in Colombia and other regions of South America conducting counter-drug operation units. As a SEAL instructor and deputy commander of SEAL training, Tom was integral with developing the current generation of SEAL operators. Since retiring from the military, Tom's kept busy. You know, we've got him up at Dex a little bit, and he's kind enough to come here and give his talk. He said, let's bring some Dex guys, okay? Let's bring some, so we did. In the sports world, Tom's been part of motivating and leading as far as effectiveness training, 3 collegiate national championships, a Stanley Cup, a President's Cup, a gold medal, National League pennant, and many other championships. I don't know if you have a world wrestling belt, Tom. You can, we might have one of those. But anyway, please join me in welcoming Captain Tom Chaby today. You got the mic.
All right. I'm going to pull this off. I don't like the podium. Well, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. First off, Dex Imaging, thanks for bringing me. I don't like to characterize myself as a motivational speaker. Hopefully I'm motivational. I prefer to look at it as education. And everything that I talk about is about moving the needle. Performance optimization, team effectiveness, helping cultures grow and become more effective. I learned a little bit more about the Kiwanis and the Kiwanians. Did I say that second piece correctly? I want to thank you for what you do. It's amazing. Just what you do is an outreach to the community. I live in Clearwater, so I'm local. And it's a great mission you have, so thanks for doing that. I want to talk to you today about special operations. I want to talk to you today about the SEAL community. A lot of people put us, here I am standing on a podium of sorts. They put us up on a podium. And I think it's inappropriate. And they put us up there and they look at us like we're superheroes. And we're not. We're humans. And a lot of my teammates are crazy impressive. I'm going to talk about a few of them in a minute. And that's not the reason that they excel and succeed in the special operations community. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. What's that patch on your shoulder there, sir? You know what it is. I know what it is. I picked you right out. We'll talk later. Shirts with an N? Yep, we'll talk later. Don't think I don't see these things. Yes, indeed. I've been on many missions, and I got the opportunity to spend time in Afghanistan. I was there a couple weeks after 9/11. Iraq, I spent a year in each of those countries. And, not all missions are created equal. And the mission I want to talk to you about today was one of the first for me. And frankly, it was one of the first for everybody that was participating in this mission. And I can remember it like yesterday. We were in a room, probably 2/3 the size of this room. And before we go on an operation, we plan. And we plan every single detail. And that's probably one of the hallmarks of the special operations community, is how detailed we are. We don't miss anything. Everything's covered. Every teammate has a job. One teammate's a point man. Another one's a radio man. Another is a gunner. We have a medic. We have somebody who's going to tell us what the weather is going to be. The weather is critical. We like it when it rains. We like it when it's cloudy. We like it when there's no moon. That helps conceal our movement. So we were in a room, like I said, about 2/3 the size planning, and you could feel, you could almost cut a knife through the tension in the room. And I looked around the room, and you could see the glassy eyes, the steely determination in each of my teammates' eyes. And I caught the attention of one of my teammates, and his name is Rob. And Rob is what you would imagine a SEAL would look like. 6'2", 220 pounds, All-American football player from the University of Kansas. And Rob was a great teammate, and I loved that he was part of our team. And he and I locked eyes, and I could tell he was apprehensive about what we were going to endeavor. But we nodded at each other, and we continued with our planning, our preparations. And we moved around, and in this preparation, it takes hours in some cases. This was a truncated mission planning cycle. It's only a 2 to 3 hour time frame from what I can remember. But I locked eyes with a second teammate, and this time it was Don, first Rob. And Don's not 6'2", he's 5'6", but equally impressive. 5'6", 150. But Rob ran track. Rob ran the mile. Rob ran a 4:02 in high school. Crazy. He'd go on to run a 3:54 in college, Long Beach State. Amazing athlete, one of our best shooters. And he and I locked eyes and nodded at each other. We're getting close to the presentation, and my job as the commander of the effort was to give the strategic guidance, and we usually get strategic guidance from, it could come from the president in some cases, Secretary of Defense, or maybe some other sub-leader below them. And my job was to translate that into operational and tactical actions and present it in a way that our team would understand, and then we could conduct the mission. Right before I walked up to the front of the room to begin this briefing cycle, I locked eyes with Nick. And Nick was not Rob, and he was not Don. He was about 5'7", a little pudgy. I'm pretty sure he would have a hard time making his JV anything team back when he was in high school. But he was a good kid. He did well in training, and we liked him. Very affable, very likable, really just a good teammate. And he and I locked eyes. I was a little bit worried about him, like I said, but he gave me a little smirk, and I kind of nodded, and then we went on with our business. And we gave the presentation, the brief, and each of those teammates gave their portion of the brief. Once we're done briefing, we jock up, is what it's called. We put our gear on. And we have everything. We have body armor. We have web gear with ammunition, pistols, sidearms, medical kits, flares, night vision goggles. Anything you can imagine, we're armed and ready to apply that to the battlefield to help us and give us a competitive advantage. So we began, and we did the insertion piece. And we insert many different ways. Sometimes we just patrol. Sometimes we'll go in via helicopter. That's where we'll partner up with the Army a lot of times. Other times we'll go via submarine. In this case, we were vehicle insert. We got inserted, and then we began our patrol. And it was going to be a long patrol. And when we patrol, it's slow. Just imagine a normal walking pace, much slower. We're about this pace. And while we're patrolling, we're listening. We're looking. We're sensing our environment. Nobody's talking. Everything's done with hand signals. Stop. Look over there. I hear something. All these different hand signals. Head count. And then it happened. A firefight, gunfire from direct in our front flank came at us. We all dropped to the ground. And the fog of war, who's heard of that phrase, fog of war? It's real. When bullets are hailing down on you and they're cracking over your head, you don't know your left from your right. You're confused. But you hope things will click in. You hope you'll go automatic is what we hope for. And that's what happened. We began to do a flank maneuver, and then we found a ridge line, and we went down there to get out of the field of fire and then take account of how we work. Most people look at a SEAL unit, and they think we're just amazingly kinetic, and we're going to destroy whoever we're up against. That's not true. We're small. We do not want to get in a firefight, because an extended firefight means we're going to die. We don't have that much ammunition on us. We're unbelievably effective at being clandestine, going in, taking care of something, and then getting out. Unseen is the goal. That's a successful mission. So we got behind that ridgeline and we took account of our team. First, we did the head count. And that's when I found out Don, the mile runner, no longer with us. Snap out of it, Chaby. Compartmentalize. They teach us this in training. The mission continues. We'll deal with that later, the emotional impact of losing such a great teammate. And we began to patrol again. Once again, the same pace. Heightened attention at this point after being in a firefight. We got about an hour away from that first firefight when a second firefight broke out on our left flank this time. We dropped down, and the fog of war was subdued, suppressed, much less. It was almost like that first hit, for those that have played football, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. My awareness was much, much better this time, and we maneuvered, and we found a small gully that we scurried down and went about a quarter mile into an open area where, once again, we took account of our team. That's when I found out we lost our second teammate, Rob, the All-American football player. First on, now Rob. Compartmentalize. We went to our objective area, completed the mission, extracted, and went back into the room. And I'll come back to this story at the end. People look at the SEAL community as these superstars, and it's not because of a guy like Don who could run a 402 mile, or Rob who was a great football player. And, you know, that's not why. It's because of the intangibles. In our community, the SEAL community, that is, we think differently. We think differently. Has anybody ever been taught how to think? Like really taught how to think? You're not allowed to raise your hand. And we don't do that in this country very much. And I'm not talking about intelligence. I'm talking about the mechanical action of thinking. Like the difference between having a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. It's a simple thing. I work with inner city kids up in New Jersey every summer, and these kids come from an environment where they have a fixed mindset towards swimming. They just do. Nobody in their family knows how to swim. They're mostly from single parent homes, inner city. There's no pool in their backyard. They live hours away from the Jersey Shore. I grew up in Jersey, so I love it up there. And they have a fixed mindset. So what we do, and I go up there with a few of my teammates, is we flip that on its head, and we put them through SEAL-like training over a whole summer. And at the end of the summer, these young men and young women are jumping off of, literally higher than this ceiling, with a blacked out mask, jumping in, they have a bathing suit underneath, taking their pants off, using that as a flotation device, going to the bottom of the 10-foot section, retrieving something, and then swimming a couple hundred yards. Then we do it with no lights at 3 in the morning with chem lights. Imagine that. And these kids that were freaking out like, I'm not doing that at the beginning, own it. It changes their life because they think differently. If you can think more effectively, you'll have more effective results. Is that a fair statement? Right? Culturally in America, we think about outcomes, outcomes, outcomes. That's all we care. What kind of car do you drive? What do you do for a living? Look at people's social media. My kids are not allowed to do social media, by the way. And yes, and you look at this, and it's all about what did you achieve. But that's great. Achieving things is fantastic. But that's not how you're going to be most effective in the moment. Thinking about winning a football game in the middle of a football game isn't going to help you win the football game. Process over outcome. I worked with Coach Saban at Alabama a little bit, and the one thing that he harped, and his motto, the tagline there, is the process begins here. That's right. It's the same in the SEAL community. It's all about the process. I drove here from Clearwater. The first thing I had to do was get on, Park Avenue, turn off on Indian Rocks, then get on Ulmerton. Each one of those steps had to be followed at the right time, or I would never have gotten here in time. Process, process, process. So if you think more effectively, you'll have more effective results. Kobe Bryant, when he was talking about, I don't think about winning, and I don't think about not losing. I'm just playing to figure things out. what he wouldn't have called it this, and it's a shame, I would have loved to have met him and exchanged notes. He was talking about what I call neutral thinking. He wasn't thinking like I'm going to succeed or I'm going to fail. He's just thinking I'm just going to perform. I'm going to execute. It's a great approach once you begin performing. Being positive is fantastic before you get up on the stage to give a talk. But I'm not positive right now. I'm totally neutral and I'm totally following my process. And that keeps me right in the middle, like Kobe Bryant was talking about. The second intangible I want to talk about is discipline, precision, execution. We all do something in life. Some of us are retired, some of us still work, and whatever we do requires a certain level of skill. And once again, yeah, certain people are blessed with gifts, but we can all get pretty darn good at whatever it is we do. Even, I was a SEAL, and people think what we did was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. No, anybody in the room could figure out how to shoot a weapon, but you just have to choose to do it. You have to choose to put the time in to learn, and you have to put the time in to learn the right way. A lot of people are like, I'm going to practice, 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 and they just practice at full speed. And that's not ideal to developing skill. We have a saying in the SEAL world, crawl, walk, run. I'm going to show you a drill we would do. It's called the transition drill. I got to put this mic down for a second. And I think I still, well, I got a booming voice. So transition drill, we've got our primary weapon, boom, 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 click. Click is a bad noise in the SEAL world, in the Army world. And you know what's going on. We don't even think about it because we've done this drill so many times where you just take your primary weapon, I'm righty, and you fling it. We have harnesses that'll take it and hold it in back, slings that'll keep it back there. You just flick it back, and then while you flick it, you go right down to your sidearm. And to do that smoothly could save your life. You know, being able to do that in 0.3 seconds versus 0.8 seconds could be the difference between life and death. It sounds minimalistic, but it's like the 100-yard dash, 100-meter dash in the Olympic finals. So we'll do that drill time after time after time after time. And we'll do it this slow. We'll be on the range, and the instructor will go click, and then we'll have to go this slow. It's almost like we're doing Tai Chi or something. And he'll go, stop, you're going at the wrong angle. You need to get your, and he'll tell us what we're doing wrong. Okay, go around, shake it off. Click. You're letting your hand drift too far away from your body. You need to come right down your body. Okay. Click. And then you go through time after time. We'll do it not hundreds, probably tens of thousands of times. That's how you develop a skill. You know, at DEX, they have a sales process, and part of their sales process is to tell the DEX story. And the DEX story is unbelievable. For those that aren't familiar with DEX, it's a great story, and they're great community partners. Obviously, we're here today. But there are some people at DEX that are brand new that don't know the story well. Like, it takes no genetic capability to know a story. Would you agree, Mike? Yeah. So you got to practice it and practice it and practice it. I have a close friend who was one of the engineers for the Appalachian State football program, the one that upset Michigan, the greatest college upset of all time. And hey, I worked in Michigan for 3 years. We're good. We'll talk later. And but Appalachian State upset Michigan. And my buddy, he does what I do for a living, and I work with sports teams and corporate organizations to educate them. A little bit of motivation, but to educate them and to help move the needle and help them get better at whatever it is they do. And he met Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt, Hall of Famer, Phillies third baseman. They were at one of those celebrity golf outings. And he asked Mike, hey, Mike, what's the difference between you, somebody who made the pros, and another player in the MLB that probably had the same skill you had but didn't make the Hall of Fame, didn't go to the World Series, et cetera. And Mike Schmidt didn't miss a beat. He just goes, DBW. He goes, DBW? What is DBW? He goes, the guys who make it, particularly in baseball, but it's the same in the SEAL world. It's the same learning the DEX story, and it's probably the same in whatever it is you care about. DBW is we do boring well. Doing that transition drill time after time, thousands of times, super slow, it's incredibly boring. Incredibly boring. But I can just see Mike Schmidt now throwing balls against the wall and just doing it time after time after time, developing the skill. It's discipline. It's a choice. It's a choice. And it's no genetic superiority to do that. I bet you Tom Brady did that choice. That's my guess. The third piece is resilience. And a lot of things happen to us. I call them micro outcomes. Like right now I'm speaking. If all of a sudden all the audio went out, that would be a micro outcome because I would just start speaking very loudly. I'd put this down to be a nothing burger. It's happened to me before. But that's a micro outcome. We have positive micro outcomes and negative micro outcomes. How we respond to them is everything. You know, I was driving up today and I was telling Mike, I had this jerk behind me and I'm going 32 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone. And this dude's honking his horn at me. I point at the speed limit sign, which I'm exceeding, by the way, by 2 miles an hour. And the dude starts flipping me off. I'm like, really? So how am I going to respond? You know, I blew him a kiss. That's what I did. And he didn't like that. But I'll leave the rest of the story for a private conversation. There was no fight. There was no contact. But how you respond to things is probably way over 50% to determine success or failure in our lives. You know, I'm looking at a table of salespeople right here, and you're going to walk into a room, and more times than not, the prospective client is going to object to something. How they respond to that objection is everything. Am I right? It's everything. They get that objection, handling that objection right, it's everything. It's the same in football. We watched a ton of football games for football fans this weekend, and there was only a couple games, UNC last night being one of them, that were complete blowouts. That was ugly. But how you respond to things. I'll give that Notre Dame kid credit. I mean, he lost the game, but he responded after he threw the interception and it looked like it was all over. He came back and scored again. My hat's off to him. He's a young kid. He's a great athlete. He's going to do great. But how we respond, resilience, it's a choice. It's a choice how you respond. And like we're not taught how to think, a lot of times we're not taught how to respond. Like I said, compartmentalize before when we lost Rob and Don. Like we're taught that in the military. I can't, and I don't have the luxury to get emotionally involved with losing a teammate in that moment because we have a mission. Other people, their lives are in jeopardy. Strategic failure is at risk. And the last thing is leadership, the last intangible. And I think in America we look at leadership through the wrong lens. Mostly we look at it as somebody standing up on a podium lording over their people. Look at this. This is what kind of works today. Lording over their people. That's not how I led when I led. I was more collaborative, very flat. In the SEAL world, we're one of the first flat organizations where in the military, it's a very vertical task organization. We're crazy flat, and it's one of our strengths. But not every military unit can operate in that system. We can, and we're trained to. I look at leadership this way. It's 60% self. Leading myself. I have to lead myself. How I responded to that jerk road rage guy, that was an act of leadership right then. Can we agree to that? The next 20% would be accepting leadership from others. A lot of people aren't good at accepting leadership. That's a skill. It's a choice, and you have to learn how to do it. And if you don't grow up in an environment that encourages that and fosters that, you won't even know how to do it. In our world, we mandate it. And then the last 20% could be you setting an example, leading, pulling somebody aside and saying, hey, let's have a talk. I think I can help you become more effective. That's leadership. And these four intangibles, when you get them right, and this has been my model working with the teams that I've had the privilege, Tampa Bay Lightning, when you get them right, it's amazing how all those tangible skills you have get amplified, get optimized. Because you know what? We've all seen these great people in athletics and in other domains that had all the skill in the world, yet they couldn't codify it with success. It was nothing more than a shiny object that looked good on paper, and it was worthless to execute whatever it is they were trying to achieve. I believe it's the intangibles that empower each of those tangibles, that give you the opportunity to reach your full potential. In the world I came from, our culture mandates that you think the right way. An example, my first day at SEAL Team 3, I'm a brand new SEAL. I graduated training, I was all excited. And every day they would have a different physical activity we would do. This day it was a 4-mile run, show up it begins at 7, so you got to get there ahead of time to get your PT, physical training gear on. And there's a note on the quarterdeck. The quarterdeck is the foyer you walk across. There's a note on the quarterdeck. All SEALs report to the beach, which is 50 yards behind our building, Pacific Ocean. Report to the beach with your fins and mask and swim buddy. All right, and I knew what was going on because I could hear it when I pulled into the parking lot. That day in San Diego, it was the largest waves they had ever had. And we're talking about 30-foot walls. And they said, all right, we're not running today. What you're gonna do with your swim buddy is you're gonna swim through those waves to that boat, and it was about 600 yards out there. You're gonna report your swim pair number and then come back. That little simple action took about 2 hours. It was brutal. You would go forward like 5 feet, back 4. It was crazy. And we had life preservers on, that you would pull with the CO2 cartridge. But they were teaching us how to think. They were teaching us, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Make that your competitive advantage. Make that your friend. And it's the same in sales. Those uncomfortable conversations, the people that can't have uncomfortable conversations, they don't succeed in sales. So, the intangibles. Next time you're looking at a special operator, I'll encourage you. Yeah, they may be athletic, they may be strong, and all those things. It's really the intangibles that mark who they are as a person. I want to finish that story up. Lost Rob, lost Don. These guys are laughing because they know the end. Walk into the room, the same room where we had all our charts, all our maps. We did all our briefing with the weather. And there was Nick. Remember Nick, the 5'7"? He was kind of like Rudy from the movie Rudy. Couldn't make his JV anything team. I see Nick and he looks at me and he winks. And I smile and laugh a little bit as well. And you think, how could he be so crass and uncaring after losing 2 teammates? The story I told you, they didn't die. They're still very healthy and with us. What they did is they quit training. They couldn't make it through the training. They didn't have the right mindset, yet they were physically the most gifted. But they couldn't get through the training. The intangibles elevated Nick. The lack of them took Rob and Don and cut him out at the knees. So I'm going to pause there because I see Mike standing up. Do we have a couple minutes for questions if they have any? Sure. Anybody have any questions? I'd love to entertain. Oh, here we go. Lemoyne, do you know our first admiral in the SEAL community? Yeah. Admiral Lemoyne. Yeah. You knew that?
Did you put the Dex guys through the SEAL team?
We're going to do that. I think that's a great idea. I think we're going to do that. Now, I'm going to call Doyle up right when we're out of here.
You can just swim the river over to Palmetto and back.
I think, what do you think, guys? You and I will be in the boat. We'll be good, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What is the most common problem how common mistake that most people make in the process of filming?
What is the most common problem that special operators make in the process of solving a problem?
Yes.
That is a complex question. I like it, though. I'm going to say this. Communication breakdown. Not asking the right questions, not getting the right body of information, not digesting it and processing and synthesizing that information in the right way. Information's everything. And when you get that piece wrong, you're doomed to failure. Look at that answer. Boom! Did you get that on tape? There we go. Any other questions? We'll take one more. My ego is fully wrapped around audience participation. Thank you, sir. I'm going to be able to sleep tonight.
Rather than going to Google, do you have a quick
on waterboarding. Yeah, waterboarding has been grossly exaggerated. I've been waterboarded in SEER school. I don't think they do that anymore, but they would, like the SEALs would get segregated and we would get special training, and that was part of it. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, it's miserable, but I don't want to get into the debate about torture or not. I think when you can get back to the information, when you can get a piece of information that might save hundreds or thousands of people's lives, I believe I'm probably going to get in trouble here, on the education channel in Sarasota County here. I think whatever it takes, get it done without gravely injuring somebody. I think that was it. Was that politically delicate enough there? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Stay up here for just a second. Don't leave, don't leave. I'm just kind of reminded with what you're talking about with professional athletes is it's not just practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect, right?
Amen.
And so if you're out there, whether you're a kid and you're throwing free throws, right, just trying to get it and you're haphazardly, you could be out there for 2 hours. But if you aren't thinking about what you're doing, the little tiny things, I guess in life, really, right?
And this really amplifies that whole DBW thing that Mike Schmidt was talking about. And Mike Schmidt didn't make it up. He got it from one of the greatest hitters ever in baseball, Tony Gwynn. And Tony Gwynn was a freak of nature when it came to training the right way, to doing it day after day. You want to hear the craziest statistic I've ever heard? If Tony Gwynn magically could come back to life and start playing baseball again, he could go 0 for 1,100, 0 for 1,100, and his batting average would still be over 300. It's freaky. He was amazing, but that's what it's about, practicing perfect. That's a great thing, Mike.
Tom, thanks again for being here. We'd like to, on behalf of the Bradenton Kiwanis, present you with a golden ruler, okay?
Wow.
To measure your future success of training others how to be better people.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
There you go. We'll get a picture right there.
Thanks,
Tom, thank
Mike.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good stuff. Please join us next week. We've got Alexandra Elman Foley, who's with Lighthouse Vision Loss Education Center. We're going to have some fun next week, all right, because Alexandra is vision impaired. She's going to be here. We're going to do some maybe little experiments, okay? I know, Kent, you've done that in the past. You were telling me about that. All right, but it'll be a fun meeting. So we hope everybody will be here. Bring a friend. Thanks everybody for being here. Go do some great things this week.